Hello and welcome to The Big Story, where we'll discuss the hottest topics of the day right in the heart of the newsroom. I'm Dylan, coming to you live from the Straits Times. Now, we are streaming on Facebook and on YouTube, so be sure to like, share and comment on our video. And while you're at it, if you haven't already done so, do subscribe to our channel and click the bell button so as to be notified whenever we go live. In a few moments, I'll be joined by my newsroom colleagues where we'll discuss the hottest stories that got you talking today. Now, how much instant noodles can you eat, or soy sauce for that matter? Now, in a viral Facebook post that shows a shocking mismatch between what donors give and what the poor need, we see hundreds of instant noodle packets, more than 50 bottles of soy sauce and other condiments, as well as multiple unopened bags of rice in a one-room rental flat of a 78-year-old man. The viral post has ignited a discussion in Singapore about what social workers and volunteers say is a common problem. That is, people aren't necessarily donating or offering what vulnerable groups really need. Now, with us to discuss this today is journalist Yuan Sin. Hi, Yuan Sin.
Hello.
So, Yuan Sin, welcome to the show. What were some of the first reactions from the public upon seeing these pictures?
Yeah, so this post really sparked a lot of discussion, and I think a lot of the initial reactions to it were, shock and surprise, right? Like, how could it be that, you come in with good intentions, but it leads to, such an unfavorable kind of consequence where you get so many donations that it actually clutters up the elderly man's house and makes it difficult for him to walk around. And I think it sparked a lot of self-reflection among anyone who has, done some kind of volunteering in the past about, what kind of intentions I should have when I actually try and do good for the community. There were also some rather interesting discussions that came about on Facebook. So, for instance, some people were questioning, why can't the elderly man just say no to the donations if it doesn't suit him, right? Or some other comments were saying that, well, why don't we just teach uncle to cook? Or why don't uncle just, sell all the excess food that he has on Carousel? But it actually brought this issue of like power dynamics into the spotlight as well, right? Because the volunteers and some other people with experience in volunteering will also say that, if you are from a vulnerable group, you may not feel that you have the power to reject all these donations, because one fear that you have is that what if people don't want to donate anything to me in the future if I say no, right? And also I think another issue is also that you may not understand the elderly man's full life situation, because he actually has dementia, as the volunteers have found out. So if you have dementia, there are many things that you can't do, so it's important to kind of like put yourself into the shoes.
I think speaking of going on about volunteers and everything, there has been an increasing number of volunteers over the last couple of years, which is actually rather promising, right? So there's been a survey done by the National Volunteer and Philanthropy Centre reviewed that while 1 in 10 people volunteered in 2000, 1 in 3 did so in 2016. So in your opinion, do you think that this mismatch problem is due to inexperience on their part, on the volunteers' part?
Yeah, definitely it's not a bad thing at all that more people are stepping up to volunteer, and we should not let this discussion make people feel that, we should not discourage volunteers who actually come in with good intentions, and they want to help. But like you rightly pointed out, it has a lot to do with the inexperience of volunteers, because when you start out, you may have some preconceived notions, but when you actually start to work with people on the ground, that is when your preconceived notions get challenged, right? And you start to think deeper and harder about what are your, what is the ultimate objective of what you're trying to do here. So I think oftentimes, you get a lot of like corporate volunteers or just, individuals who do volunteering with school on an ad hoc basis. So oftentimes when you just come in on a one-time basis, you may not really think so hard, and you may not have the time and the resources to find out what people actually need. And sometimes, corporations may also, they may have other agendas, right? Like sometimes, it looks good in paper to show that, you're knocking on doors and distributing food to people because it's a very tangible act, right? But you may not have thought about, what are some of the less tangible things that people actually need. So let's say if you're an elderly person, actually what you may need is not, food, but it could be, friendship, it could be like company. And even though that might not look good, on your company newsletter, right? But that is actually something that delivers impact over the long term.
So let's talk a bit about what are some of the suggestions that of how people can volunteer in a more effective manner?
Yeah, so like definitely it will help if you don't do it on a one-off or ad hoc basis. And I think some of the experts or regular volunteers that I spoke to say that it's very important to, do it regularly and to engage continuously with one community over a long period of time. So you kind of build up that rapport with the people that you are serving as well. Right? So maybe initially, if you don't know a person well, you may think that, I think you need this and that. But after a long time, you start to get to know the person and you realize that, hey, this is actually what you need in life compared to your initial idea. And also another suggestion is that you should be working with an organization instead of like going out to any random rental block or something to just deliver what you think they need. You can work with an organization and they can be kind of like the middleman and they can match you and with the resources that you have to what are the needs that they have identified among their beneficiaries. And I think it's also very important to not see vulnerable groups as just the needy that, like this savior mentality, right? Because you also have to think about how you can tap on the resources of the community that you're trying to help and discover their strengths. So beyond social services, for instance, right, when they do food distribution, they actually engage the residents in one rental neighborhood to help to distribute the groceries to people who can't come down to collect the items, for instance. And this actually helps to strengthen the community because neighbors can help each other, right? And volunteers can come in on a weekly basis, but if the volunteers can help the neighbors to know each other, they can help each other out on a day-to-day basis. And another academic from NUS, Dr. Neo Yu also suggested that, when you deliver, let's say, when you want to provide food services to a neighborhood, for instance, you don't necessarily have to give it only to the low-income group because it actually kind of stigmatizes them. So what you can do is maybe like a pasar malam where you have like the various cooked food stalls in a common space, and people feel that that they have some choice over what they can eat.
I see,
and also like they get a chance to mix with other people, for instance. And another solution is, you don't necessarily have to give in kind all the time. Vouchers or maybe even cash would be more helpful for some families because there's more flexibility.
All right, so thanks so much for sharing about this issue with us, Yuan Sin. Now, I think it was certainly very informative and hopefully we can move forward as a society and take steps to volunteer in a more effective manner. Of course, for the full story, you can always head down to our website. It's www.straitstimes.com.